A bid request document is used to collect information from your vendors so that you can inform your estimating portion of your job. So here in my job budget, you'll notice that I have a plumbing category, and the plumbing materials and plumbing labor do not have a cost in them quite yet. So I might want to send out one or multiple bid requests to collect information for this particular portion of my budget. So in order to do so, we are going to go to the top where we click plus document, and this will allow us to select our document template that we'd like to use. So we're going to choose a bid request type, and my template is called bid request. So I'll select that one. And now I can choose the first vendor that I'd like to send this bid request to. So in this case, I'll choose A.R. Perry Plumbing and Heating. Now I can add additional vendors later on, but right now I'm just going to choose the first one. Now I'll select which items from my budget I'd like to include on that bid request. So in this case, I could choose one of the plumbing items, or I can choose the entire group and then click Create. Now you'll see that we have a draft bid request. Here you can really click to edit whatever you're needing to. I might want to add the scope of work up here in the request details, so I could say replace all cast iron plumbing with PEX and PVC when needed. Great. And then I can also choose to inform any of these groups or line items even further. So I could click on the group header and I could add an additional description here. I could also upload any files, photos, and videos directly to this group header, or I could do the same thing with each of the items. Maybe on plumbing materials, I would want to say preferred PEX materials. Great. And then maybe in plumbing labor, I could add any additional information about the labor that I expect for this, how many hours I anticipate this will take, etc. I also have the option to click on the little eyeball icon here, and I can hide the quantity and unit cost. Because they're lump sum, it doesn't really make sense to leave those in, but maybe if you had specific units here, you'd like to leave those showing. And then you'll see that there are spaces for my vendor to enter in the totals for each of these items. On the right-hand side, you have some settings options. So here I have the subject. The subject is going to accompany the name of the document. So bid request 56-2 may not mean a whole lot when you have that on a full list of other bid requests for other parts of the job. So I might want to add a subject to help add context to that name. So I might just say plumbing, materials, and labor. Great. And then I can choose whether or not I want to require a vendor signature. Let's turn that on for this one. And then I can also upload any files, photos, or videos directly to this document as a whole. So I might upload some plans here so that they can see what we're going after. And then I can also, of course, name those files, add descriptions, and even add my file tags as needed so that I can keep them organized. I also have the option to copy existing files from other places that's in JobTread already. So when I click that, I can find files that are located on that particular job, and then I can choose any of the files that make sense for my plumbers to see. All right, we'll add those as well, and then my vendors will be able to open up those files. They could be video files as well, and then they can view them, make comments on them, ask questions about them, etc. All right, once you feel like your bid request is all set up, we're going to click the Save button. And once you hit Save, you'll notice that your action buttons appear up top. Now we're going to select the action to send the bid request. So we'll click Send, and now you'll see that my first recipient is listed here, the primary contact for that first vendor. But I might want to add additional vendors as well. So if I have custom fields for my vendors to help organize them, I can then use those custom fields to find particular vendors here, or I could just search for the vendors on the full list. So let's go ahead and just search for all of our vendors here. I'll select a couple. Great, and then let's just select maybe another one as well. Now I can even expand each of those vendors, and I can change the subject on their particular bid request. I can also change the contact information if I need to, and choose whether or not I'd like to require a signature from each. Well, since this is an HVAC company, let's remove that one, and now I'll just be sending out 2 bid requests, one to my original vendor and one to this additional vendor. Now I can add an email message. Please review and submit your bid. Great. and then I'll click Send. Now what just happened is a bid request document was sent to each of my vendors separately, and it had all of the same information on it. Now each of those vendors will receive an email, and that email has your logo, your message, and a button to view the bid request. When they click that button, they don't need to log in anywhere. It will open up the bid request document in their web browser, where they can then go through and fill out the information. So let's say that for materials, they're thinking it'll be $12.50, for labor, $2,300, and then they can go and sign it. Now we'll have one submitted bid request that is signed. And then when we go into our documents, you'll also see the second bid request is listed there as well. So let's open that one up, and then let's inform this one. So maybe Katie here says that it will be $2,000 for materials and then $3,300 for labor, and they'll go ahead and sign it as well and submit it. Now notice on the right-hand side, you do have the recipients listed. If you ever needed to resend the document to them, you do have a resend option. You also can see a full paper trail of all of the activity on this document. You and your vendor could also message back and forth to communicate about this bid request specifically. So let's see what happened now that we received 2 bid requests. We'll go into our budget. And then what I would recommend is, if you're going to be using bid requests on a frequent basis, turn on the bid request column in your budget. So we'll click on the gear icon. And then that gear icon allows us to turn on or off columns in our budget. So I'm going to turn on the bid request column here. And then of course you can rearrange it if you need to, but we'll click Save, and that will save that column in our view. Now in the bid request column, you'll see under the plumbing sections, I have a range that's showing the lowest and the highest bid on each line, and I can click to expand each of those and decide which ones I'd like to go with. Let's say that I'd like to go with A.R. Perry Plumbing and Heating. Well, I can either enter in the costs here, or in some cases your bid request will be very, very long, and therefore you might want to just push all those costs directly into your budget if you have several items on that request. So a shortcut in doing so is to open up that bid request, and this is where we're going to go behind the scenes of the document so we can take a mass action on all of those items. So we'll click View Item Details. That goes behind the scenes of the document, and now I can select all the items and choose the action Review and Update Cost Items in Budget. This will allow me to choose what details I'd like to push into my budget. Maybe I want to push the descriptions from the document as well as the cost. I can click Skip here and see the next one as well, and then I could choose to update them each individually or just update the remaining altogether. Now when I head back to my budget, you'll notice that those totals are added to my cost, and also the description was added to my line item. The next step is to send off your proposal to your customer, get that approved, and then after that point, you can go ahead and award the bid by turning the bid request directly into a purchase order or a work order, and then that will inform your vendor that you are moving forward with them. I would also suggest opening up any of the bid requests that you did not want to award, such as this one, and go ahead and decline it when you're ready. If you have any questions, contact your customer success manager or email support@jobtread.com and we'll be sure to help.